Jeff Kleinberg has had an incredible career. From a political science major to a master's in guidance and student personnel administration to a Ph.D. in counseling, psychology, and finally a master's in public health. He has utilized all aspects of his education and work experience to influence his professional contributions in the field of group therapy. Beginning his second year of college at the age of 18, with the unexpected and tragic death of his father, Dr. Kleinberg completed his undergraduate degree and immediately his master's. From there, he became assistant to the dean, City University of New York, dean of students, and subsequently executive associate to the president, LaGuardia Community College. Jeff married by the age of 21 and had 2 children, Rachel and David. Following his Ph.D. in counseling psychology, Dr. Kleinberg became a tenured professor at CUNY, a faculty member for the Postgraduate Center for Mental Health, and co-director for Adult Psychoanalytic Training Program. He currently teaches global mental health at Mount Sinai School of Medicine. Following the 9/11 attacks, then president of AGPS, Dr. Kleinberg was contacted by the New York Psychological Association to help with the NASDAQ effort. He called Marcia Block, knowing that AGPS alone did not have the resources to accomplish this monumental task. Through the combined effort and Dr. Kleinberg's prior administrative experience, provided the expertise to respond effectively, not only by providing group therapists for the relief effort, but to utilize the funds available. A team effort ensued. This was the first time utilization of the CGP credential was used for selecting the most qualified responders. Others called to help with trauma victims worldwide. Volunteers in Chengdu, China asked for help with trauma relief of the 2008 earthquake. Dr. Kleinberg conducted training on Skype. Trauma training was conducted in Shanghai. Dr. Kleinberg was asked to train therapists twice over 3 years. Then again, an international team conducted a trauma class for counselors in Mumbai, India, following a terrorist attack on a hotel. Dr. Kleinberg was a part of that intervention. Jeff Kleinberg has been secretary and president of Division 39, Section 7 of the APA. He's been president, treasurer, and editor for group for AGPS, president, treasurer, and elected board member for AGPA, and he's currently an elected board member of IAGP. Dr. Kleinberg has made presentations and training internationally, China, Turkey, Israel, Croatia, the Grenadines, and the Republic of Georgia. He has over 20 publications, including the Wiley-Blackwell Handbook of Group Psychotherapy. This handbook was written by AGPA members recruited by Jeff Kleinberg and is a practical guide of group psychotherapy utilized by senior and new professionals alike. He refers to this as his labor of love. I have had the honor of working closely with Jeff Kleinberg on the AGPA Executive Committee. He masterfully kept our goals on track while acknowledging the contribution and the value of every member. I now have the honor to introduce Jeff Kleinberg as our next distinguished fellow.
Hi, everyone. I wasn't sure what I was getting into this morning when I first heard the message that the committee had decided to give me an award. I heard it as Extinguished Fellow. So I said, I don't know how to say thank you for that. Well, they said, well, when you say thank you, just use your knowledge of groups and your experiences leading groups. So I think I'll start by going around the room and having people introduce themselves. Not a good idea? I won't do that. In the audience is my wonderful daughter, Rachel. Maybe Rachel, just say hello to people, because... she's really why I'm getting this award. My son, David, couldn't be here because he's in Massachusetts, and his 7-year-old daughter, my granddaughter, Anna, has a hockey game tonight. Isn't that great? A hockey game. And I don't mean field hockey, I mean a hockey game. I think that's great. Let's hear it for women and hockey. Evie, I don't know if she's here yet, but Evie is my stepdaughter, and her mom was Alana, who many of you knew. And I had my own secret plan for stabilizing membership. Recently, both Rachel and Evie independently decided to go back to graduate school. They went to NYU, and they became clinical social workers, and now they're in our field. So I encourage all of you to talk to your children, particularly those who are running hedge funds, and say, find the truth. The truth is out there. So it's great. This is our plan for the future. This is really quite an honor, and the role that you've given me is really incredible. When I was a child, I dreamed of it, and when I was doing a lot of the work, I dreamed of it. I always wanted to be the opening act for Illinois councilmen. And I think I've succeeded. Now, the opening act is supposed to warm up the audience and to make them very receptive to you, because I remember when I was giving my inaugural speech that by the time I walked from my seat to the podium, my popularity rating went down 30 points. So this is a very tough job, very tough job.
That's why I'm sitting close to the electric.
Okay. There are two wise statements that sort of reflects what's happened to me in the last 10 years. One, many of you know, is O'Toole's law. Well, you've all heard of Murphy's law, right? If something can go wrong, it will go wrong. O'Toole's law is that Murphy was an optimist. So that features, or that explains a lot of what happened to me in the last 10 years. And as inspiration, I pass a church near my office on Madison Avenue, and there's a quote allegedly from Walt Disney. It really couldn't have been from Walt Disney. It was Winston Churchill who said, when you're driving through hell, keep driving. Okay, and that, believe me, that came in handy. That came in handy. My late friend Marvin Aronson told me that if you live long enough, organizations start giving you awards. In fact, the same organization gave Marvin 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. So I'm really looking forward to returning to this platform in several years, and nobody will remember that I already got one. AGPA has been a home to me, an intellectual home and a family, since 2000. As Carol mentioned, I was working for City University for a long time, took early retirement, and then I was approached by several people in Eastern Group, why don't you run for president? And it's not a job that really has any work associated with it. You go to meetings, but it really is nothing to do. I said, that sounds like I'm qualified. And then, of course, things changed rapidly with 9/11, and that changed me, and I think it changed all of us. What I have accomplished and what I've done at AGPA has been transformative. And I'm really talking to some of the newer members, new professionals or students. This is quite an organization. It's an organization where you're going to be challenged, and where you're going to grow and where you're going to learn. And there is a tremendous embracing of members, and particularly members who want to get involved. And it's quite an experience. I was watching the Republican debate last night in preparation for this meeting. And I don't know if you saw it, but they were yelling at each other. They were screaming. Wolf Blitzer at one point said, "I'm going to go to AGPA. I got to figure out how to handle this." So if you see a man with a beard who looks kind of wired, say, "Hello, Wilf. Welcome to AGPA." So this is quite an experience. Now, what I think fondly about in AGPA is how the organization has changed and how I've changed in parallel. The work we did that's already been mentioned by Carol, and Bob Klein has talked about it this morning at the Fellows Breakfast, about helping with trauma and working internationally is a project that's very close to my heart. And we have good friends from the global community. People are so hungry for group, for learning group, being in group, developing group programs in other countries. It's been really transformative. To make the difference between our culture and their culture is quite a challenge. There have been many people involved, too numerous to mention. AGPA is a group sport. Nothing can happen with just one person or two people. A combined effort has really been a pleasure, and you learn how to work together and bring out the best. This Sunday, the New York Times Magazine section, major piece, is about Google. I saw it online. And it's a study of how groups work in Google. Some are very successful work groups, some are very unsuccessful. And I am proud to say, may startle some, we are 75 years ahead of Google. They're first learning about the need for authenticity, the need for empathy, the need for bringing in the whole person and not just the person sitting in the group. I just hope someday at Google, when they get stuck with a group issue, they say, "Let's AGPA it," okay? And I think that's going to happen. So read the article and say, wow, where were they? And where we are. So that's very important. AGPA is a unique platform. People are encouraged to take risks, and there really are no penalties if you try and it doesn't work. It's a way that you can go through life and know that AGPA is always going to be welcoming. Now, like every person's life, and I'm certainly not unique in this, there are good times and there are bad times. And I've had some very, very tragic times since 2008. And that's one reason why I didn't receive my award last year, as Alana passed away. And that was on top of the earlier loss in 2008 when my wife, Glee, passed away. So it was really tough. My family was terrific, but AGPA was fantastic. I didn't see everybody face to face, but people called and talked to me, and people were very concerned about me, and I was concerned about me and my family. But what an organization that takes you for good, for bad, for good times and bad times. It's a family affair, but it's a functional family. So I'm just so happy to have been part of AGPA for so many years. And Glee and Alana were very much partners in everything that I did. They would come to meetings, they would travel with me, participate with me when we went abroad, and I think it was a very important part of our lives. I want to leave you with some snapshots. That's usually the sign that I'm wrapping up, because I'm sure the watchers of the clock are getting a little nervous at this point. But I want to give you some snapshots of my particularly recent experience at AGPA that hopefully will encourage many of you to reach out and reach in. I remember after the Chengdu earthquake, I was seeing the area that was devastated, and nothing was there. Houses were all gone. People died. 30,000 people died. And I saw two children sitting on large rocks playing a game of checkers with pebbles. That's all they had left. But there was this resilience that was very moving to me. In the weeks after 9/11, and many of you were there at NASDAQ, the executives and this other staff were concerned about Muslim colleagues who were afraid to come to work. And they reached out. What an experience to see that happen in the midst of chaos. In the wake of the Mumbai hotel bombings, a number of us were doing Skype training for the counselors in India. And when it was over, they had a big TV set in India, and we would talk to them through Skype. It was so touching. Our colleagues from India wanted to express appreciation, so they surrounded their large TV monitor and squeezed it like they were squeezing us. I'll never forget that. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to grow and to be involved with you. I have so many good friends in the audience that I'm very moved by this award. And I hope that many of you will become more deeply engaged in this organization, because what a family it is. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.